To the annual World AIDS Day event here at the National AIDS Memorial Grove. Today we commemorate the 30th anniversary of the first diagnosed case of AIDS and the 20th anniversary of the founding of the National AIDS Memorial Grove. This year's theme is Action Equals Life, a slogan which was created by a local San Franciscan AIDS activist, Terry Beswick, who is here with us today. It was in a response to, and a complement of the slogan, Silence Equals Death. San Francisco has always embodied the concept of action equals life and its response to the AIDS epidemic. On a personal note, San Francisco was where I landed 28 years ago, and I landed into a city of pain and loss and sadness. And the city struggled, but the Grove came along, and the Grove helped many, many of us in this room heal. And I'm very proud to be a part of this organization, and I'm so happy to see all these faces here today, and I'm welcoming here. And now I would like to welcome the Reverend Glenda Hope.
Invite you now to close your eyes, and if you pray, to call upon the holy by whatever names you know. If you do not pray, hold these thoughts in your heart. Eternal God, we gather in your presence in grief and in mourning. So many we love have died of this dreadful disease, and we pray for your comfort and for your healing. We gather in your presence, knowing that so many more, even now, suffer from this, and many more will in days to come. We pray for their strength and their healing, and we pray for your love as we stand with them. We gather in your presence in honest rage. Too many people with power and influence turn our riches to greed and destruction rather than to life and to healing. Forgive our silence, our discouragement, our divisions, our inaction in the face of injustice. Renew our vision, renew our wills, renew our strength to do the work of justice, of healing and compassion in San Francisco, in our nation, and throughout the world, to that day we believe will come, an end to such untimely deaths. Renew our commitment. In your many names we pray, and we all say, Amen. Come, I'm an old Baptist, I'm a Presbyterian now. In your many names we pray. Amen. Thank you.
Welcome. This morning has been a very moving morning for me. After a gathering last night and coming this morning, last night I made it through without any tears, and this morning has been filled with pretty much all tears. It's amazing to think that 30 years ago, many of us in this room and in this community and across this country and around this world had no idea what was coming our way. That the tsunami that was about to hit would not only take lives, but would change lives. But as I've come to learn, it is the perseverance that keeps individuals going and keeps communities going. Action takes many different forms. Some individuals take individual action by themselves. Others form groups and take group action. But the common thread amongst all the action is to better the community, to right a wrong, to stop an injustice. And unfortunately, HIV and AIDS needed action in all those fronts. We are joined here today by members of San Francisco General Hospital's wards 5A, 5B, and 86. And I was moved to see all of them in the circle. 20 years ago, 10 years into it, and over 10,000 lost in this community, some individuals decided to take action. They decided to not stay in the dark, but instead to forge a path toward the light. And they gathered in solidarity to merely plant the seeds of life in honor of those lives that were not with us any longer. And just like 30 years ago, we had no idea what was coming, so too the individuals that came into this space 20 years ago had no idea what they were going to create. Because what has been created here is sustaining for all time. A memorial is a marker in history to tell future generations about what occurred. The interesting thing about this marker and this memorial, unlike others, is that we are still losing far too many from HIV and AIDS. Most all memorials are created after loss is done, after it's been concluded, perhaps years. The other interesting thing about this memorial is that we've created a space for people to come and heal that was created by individuals out of action. And it was a relationship that was formed between individuals and the city of San Francisco. Because again, this space was given to the community. It was given to a group that had not even formally forged itself. That shows that 20 years ago, there was commitment at all levels, and there continues to be. So where are we today? We're here today to recommit ourselves. We must realize that the fight is not over. Every hour on the hour, the equivalent of a jumbo jet crashes, losing all of the passengers to AIDS. The fight is not over. We must continue to console, to support, and to nurture each other. Today, we will be honored to hear from and to pay tribute to those that were in the fight 20, 25, and 30 years ago that so selflessly took a step forward. We will also hear from the next generation. Because again, many of us have been in the trenches for 25 or 30 years. The fight is not over, and it's the next generation that's got to continue to take action, to get involved, to improve, and to better not only the community, but the lives of the individuals that make it up. We will also today continue in the restorative effort of this space, not only restoring the hope and the life and the passion of those that come here, those that work here, those that are remembered here, but also of the physical space. Because today, we will complete a project that has been in the works for the better part of the last 12 months, and we will again return the healing properties of water to the Grove. The falls that will be restored today were built over 110 years ago in what is the De La Viaga Dell. We're honored to have with us today Connie De La Viaga, one of the family members, who also so fiercely advocated for the city to give us this space. So I hope all of you today will remember back who we've lost, but also remember where we've come to, because that's what it's about. We need to continue to move forward. I would now like to introduce Martin Skay, Senior Vice President of Wells Fargo Bank. The relationship that this memorial has with Wells Fargo Bank goes back many years. This event today would not have been possible without the support of Wells Fargo Bank. Wells Fargo has shown a commitment not only to the National AIDS Memorial Grove and many other HIV and AIDS nonprofits, but also to the community as a whole. Wells Fargo Bank, year in and year out, is a leader in philanthropic support of community organizations and individuals in need. So please help me in welcoming to the stage Martin Skay.
Thank you, John. Good morning. I'm Martin Skay with Wells Fargo Community Bank, and I'm very pleased to be here with you today. On behalf of our team members in the San Francisco Bay Area, Wells Fargo is proud for the 8th consecutive year to be the lead sponsor for this World AIDS Day effort. Our lives are not measured by the number of years or days we exist, but by what we accomplish while we live, and the good we may render. These words, spoken in 1875 by one of our co-founders, Henry Wells, are as pertinent today as they were then. At Wells Fargo, we believe it's our responsibility to promote the long-term economic viability of our communities and enhance the quality of life of our community members. If our communities prosper, so do we as a company. We have forged the long history of supporting AIDS awareness, research, and care. It was a little more than 100 years after Henry Wells' comments that Wells Fargo made its first grant to support AIDS-related causes in the late 1980s. In the past decade, we've donated $18 million to AIDS-related causes. It's our track record of giving and community support which we're most proud of at Wells Fargo. And it gives me a great deal of personal satisfaction to know that I work for a company that is an integral part of the Bay Area's past, its present, and its future. Those of us here today, those of us here in spirit, and people throughout the world who have been affected by HIV and AIDS, take a moment and pause today. Virtually everyone has lost someone, knows a colleague, or has a friend who has lost someone. Today I remember my first friend, Stephen Landman. I lost him to AIDS more than 20 years ago. Stephen, I met when I moved to New York. I had just come out, and he was the first gay friend I made. He was beautiful. Oh, so beautiful. He had the face of a runway model and the body of Adonis to match. We joked and said he had a smile of pearl drop teeth as bright as Farrah Fawcett's. And he was as sweet-hearted as anyone I've ever met. Stephen introduced me to yoga. He introduced me to meditation. And he also introduced me to some very, very late nights in the East Village, if you know what I mean. A couple of years later, things changed. Stephen was ill, hospitalized at St. Vincent's, and a number of times there and back again. Finally, his body succumbed to this unforgiving disease. So I celebrate Stephen, and many others. May he rest in peace. Let's take a moment to acknowledge the trailblazers who have led the way to confront the AIDS pandemic. Leaders such as Open Hands, Ruth Brinker, Barbara Richmond, Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi, Senator Dianne Feinstein. And let me take a minute to thank Wells Fargo's own Mario Diaz. Tom Jensen and Tim Hanlon for encouraging Wells Fargo to do what's right. And of course, there are all the volunteers who make a difference every day in AIDS walks, on AIDS hotlines, delivering meals, or working here in the Grove. I could go on and on. But let me leave you with this. As Henry Wells said, we have accomplished much, and we do render good. Perhaps in the not too distant future, we can return here to the National AIDS Memorial Grove. We can return to this very spot and celebrate all that we did to stop HIV and AIDS, and celebrate a cure. We're not alone. Amidst these trees and in the warm embrace of this grove, together we have, we can, and we are making a difference. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. As I conveyed in my remarks a few minutes ago, were it not for the courageous leadership and the risk-taking ability of the community that we live in, the city and county of San Francisco, not only would we not have this space, but we would not have perhaps a national memorial to HIV and AIDS. It's a unique relationship that was forged here 20 years ago, unlike almost any other in this country, but looked to on an ongoing basis as an example. For this is a public-private partnership. You as a community have a 99-year lease on this space. We as an organization take no money from the city. We support all the compensation of our gardener, and we have a beautiful relationship with the San Francisco Recreation and Park Department, and most specifically, Phil Ginsburg. We've been blessed here in this space over the years to welcome such mayors as Art Agnos, who broke ground 20 years ago, Willie Brown, Frank Jordan, Gavin Newsom. And today, we are again blessed to welcome to the stage a true leader in social activism and support, who's always looked out for those in need in the marginalized community, the 43rd mayor of the city of San Francisco, Mayor Ed Lee.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. And thank you to all of you who are here today. I wanted to personally be here to join in this national recognition for several reasons. One, you must know that Art Agnos was the first mayor who enticed me to stop throwing stones at City Hall and come and work from within. He tricked me. 22 years later, though, I know this is one of the greatest cities in the world, and your presence here continues to reaffirm how strong our city is with all of its residents and supporters. The public-private partnership, the relationship with institutions like Wells Fargo and their dedication to this memorial, to the people that have died and passed away and were victims of that disease, along with people who still live with AIDS, and hopefully with the commitment that one of these days we together will end this disastrous disease. Together. I'm here also in very deep appreciation for our public health department. I work with them closely, as you know, whether it's emergencies and things that happen at General Hospital, but I know this very well, that office, when it started opening up its research, its epidemiology unit, its AIDS prevention unit, they made a long-term commitment to join all of us to make sure our local government did everything it could to use every penny, whether it was federal or state or local, to make sure that we did the right things and built on your demands that it be community-based solutions to ending this disease, and to make sure we didn't discriminate on folks that actually had to live with this disease. So we've done it the right way, and I commit to you as the mayor of this city, I will continue doing that. I will continue fighting with our state and our national leadership to make sure the Ryan White Care Bill is funded, that the programs are there, and that we do things right to end this disease. So, I didn't come here to tell you the history that you already know. What you want to and you need to hear from me is my personal commitment to join all of you here and to join the 18,000 people who for the last 2 decades spent time to create this memorial, to dedicate their lives. I lost a lot of friends myself, and I know that it means a lot to lose a family member, a friend, to this deadly disease. And therefore, this commitment is true, it's real. It will be reflected in all the budgets that I'm in charge of. And it'll make sure that our Department of Public Health, as well as our Rec and Park Department, who is part of this effort here to memorialize this, that we all join together and renew our commitments on an annual basis. That what we see through every single day, that we honor the people who passed away from this disease, those who had helped them, those who had tried to help them. We honor their efforts, and we honor all of the people who have committed to making this memorial a national recognized memorial. And again, I want to take this opportunity too to thank what I think one of the most important people in this whole movement. That was President Clinton and his wonderful leadership on this. And every time I get to see that gentleman, I'm going to continue thanking him for helping all of us in establishing a great response, one that's grown and one that's matured and one that's been very successful. And again, I look forward to joining all of you in ending this disease. And with that, if I may, John, to ask you to receive this proclamation to declare this to be World AIDS Day in San Francisco. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Grove. My name is Marcy Fraser. I'm on the board of directors of the National AIDS Memorial. And it's my privilege to present the 2011 Unsung Hero Award. First, I want to say, as a board member, we start sweating the weather about September. Like, what's it going to be like? And we are so blessed. It is such a beautiful day. I hope you will enjoy the Grove when this is over if you have some time. But I think we got a good insurance policy with Bishop Yvette Flunder and Reverend Glenda Hope, so we're so glad they're here with us. Yeah. I'm so overwhelmed with how many people are here. It just couldn't be better. For those of you who don't know, the Grove has been hosting World AIDS Day since 1994. In 1998, the first award was given for a local hero, a local person in the epidemic, and that first award was given to someone many of us worked with at San Francisco General, and that was Irene Smith. A lot of you know Irene and knew Irene. She worked with a lot of our patients. Now the award is called the Unsung Hero Award, and today is the first time it's ever being presented to a group, really a community of people. Because of a magical constellation in San Francisco, and I don't believe any of this could have happened in any other city, the people who came to work at San Francisco General created what would become a national model in HIV/AIDS care. Today, we honor the staff members of Ward 5A, 5B, and Ward 86, all located at San Francisco General Hospital and Trauma Center. Our honorees were the first people to respond in the epidemic at the very beginning of what became the horrible epidemic in San Francisco in the 1980s. They came to work despite a poor understanding of any risk, of the lack of any real treatment, or even a name for a deadly plague that was killing our friends. And the work continues today, and I'm so happy that a lot of the people that are still working at the ward are here also. Our honorees are a community who stood close to each other and in a very challenging time, and in doing so, we held each other up. They are nurses, social workers, ward clerks, maintenance people, shanty counselors, administrative staff, lab workers, pharmacists, and if I forgot anybody, you too. They're here with us today. You'll notice all of them. The honorees are wearing these pins that were designed by Spike John Lomibow, who designed our program and our pins. These, please notice that only the honorees are wearing these pins, and the distinctive 20, 30, 20 years for the National AIDS Memorial Grove and 30 years since the beginning of the epidemic. Our stories of the epidemic are packed with people who performed deeds great and small, who wouldn't have been in any other place. Their names don't crop up on any ordinary internet search. They are truly unsung. But today we'll have the amazing Bishop Yvette Flunder, who will sing for all of us shortly. I also want to point out that we had an opportunity to order some quilt panels from the AIDS Memorial Quilt, and we put in a whole bunch of names, and we didn't know which ones would be here, but one of the very first staff members of Ward 5B, George Dalbert, who's the reason I even came to work there. His panel is in the back, so those of you who knew George and worked with George, it's a nice picture of him too. For today, I also want to thank Steve Keith, Dion Jones, and especially Allison Moed for helping track down all the people who are part of this amazing community. In particular, it was a lot of dedicated work on Allison's part. I also want to put a shout out to Jean O'Connell, Sue Curran, Brad Hare, Grant Colfax, and Diane Havler for being here and being there and still doing the work. Thank you all. I started on Ward 5B as a nurse. I was about 12 years old. In 1983, Dion Jones, who was 13 at the time, was there and was one of the people who trained me, or at least she thinks she does anyway. Dion has worked in the epidemic since that time and is an important part of AIDS care and training in San Francisco and also in several African countries. It's my pleasure to introduce my dear friend and nurse extraordinaire, Dion Jones, who will accept the unsung hero on behalf of all the honorees. Thank you.
Wow. This is kind of amazing. So, we human beings seem to, since the beginning of time, had this thing about creating sacred spaces like this grove. And it is one of the things that makes us most human. So what I'd like to do before I just make a couple of comments is to have everybody who worked, trained at San Francisco General HIV program stand up. So when I look at all of you here and reflect back on this road that we traveled since we started this program at San Francisco General in 1983, I don't see so much individual acts of heroism, but people who demanded and then were given the opportunity and the resources to do, as has been said earlier, the right thing through the power of collective action. Together with our San Francisco City mothers and fathers, the leadership of our health department at San Francisco General, some of whom are here today, UCSF, and most importantly, our alliance with our patients, including those of us who became our patients, like George Dalbert, and their families and our communities. And in many ways, we are collectively probably the most recognized healthcare workers around. Most people around the world who do HIV care know about the HIV program at San Francisco General. So I want to take a second to bring in a few other unsung heroes of the HIV epidemic in San Francisco. How about the staff at the Laguna Honda HIV program? Right? Since 1987, they have been taking care of some of the sickest and most challenging patients here in San Francisco. And they are now in the beautiful new Laguna Honda Hospital, brought to you by the city taxpayers of San Francisco, and providing state-of-the-art, excellent care. Or how about all the volunteers who staffed all our needle exchange programs on our street corners, right? And so many others here today. You know who you are and you know what you did. And because this is World AIDS Day, how about bringing into this tent some of our international unsung heroes? How about all the people living with HIV around the world who, through their work as peer advocates, are the backbone of delivering health care to the 33 million people living with HIV? So this 30th anniversary marks years of advances and hard work that all of you here contributed to, and often felt like 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. Today, 20% of people in the United States do not know that they are HIV infected. And so many are not in care and in treatment. And these statistics are seeped in racial and regional disparities. So if I were standing here today, not as a 59-year-old white lesbian, grandmother, an aging nurse with a bad back, but as an 18-year-old African-American gay man living in San Francisco in 2011, some would say that my lifetime risk of becoming HIV infected would be somewhere in the order of 60 to 80% before I reached the age of 60 in San Francisco in 2011. So, on World AIDS Day, what is within his reach? How about new models of prevention so that he may never become HIV infected? Models that understand that everything in his risk has to do with the interplay of homophobia, racism, sexism, and poverty. How about that? And if we fail him, and he does become HIV infected, will he find out immediately before his immune system is wrecked? Because in San Francisco, we have universal testing, and we have universal access to health care. He will never have to progress to having AIDS. He will have access to education about his illness, and new and better tolerated potent medications that will keep the virus at bay and keep him from transmitting the virus to others, because in San Francisco, we have universal treatment. He will be able to follow his dreams, to get an education, to have a family, to have children that are free of HIV, and to contribute to his community. And through the tireless work of dedicated and brilliant researchers, some of whom are in this room today, he will live to see a vaccine and a cure for HIV. So all of this is within his reach and within our reach today, because our political and legislative leaders, like our mayor today, will continue to have the courage and the wisdom to know that now is not the time to turn away from providing the necessary resources and funding to make this his reality, to make it our reality all around the world. And if we can pull this off, and surely we can, then that will truly be something to sing about in this most sacred grove. So on behalf of my colleagues from San Francisco General Hospital's HIV program, past and present, I want to thank my 12-year-old friend Marcy, who's younger than I am, and to the National AIDS Memorial Grove for this award.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Shriver, and I'm the co-chair of the World AIDS Day event again this year and on the board. And it is amazing to see this crowd today. I want to read a letter that we received from the President of the United States. I send greetings to all those celebrating the 20th anniversary of the National AIDS Memorial Grove. 30 years after the AIDS epidemic began in America, we remain vigilant in our fight against this domestic and global scourge. Though we have made great strides in this battle, we continue to lose far too many of our loved ones to HIV and AIDS. This devastating disease touches people of all backgrounds, and we must remain united in our resolve to reduce the rates of the illness and lift up the lives of those affected by it. My administration is committed to making America a place where new HIV infections are rare, and when they do occur, where every person has unfettered access to high-quality, life-extending care. By working to decrease new HIV infections in high-risk communities, improving care for people living with the disease, and reducing health disparities, we are moving toward a world free from AIDS. In memory of those we have lost, and in support of those living with or affected by HIV and AIDS, let us recommit to ending this deadly pandemic and look to the promise of a brighter future. Signed, President Barack Obama. And I have the distinct honor of actually awarding our 2011 National Leadership Recognition Award to President William Jefferson Clinton, who obviously is not here today, but who did send a video. And this is the award for President Clinton. And if we could roll the video from the President.
Thank you for the honor of the National AIDS Memorial Grove's 2011 Leadership Recognition Award. Today we commemorate the 30th anniversary of the first diagnosed case of AIDS and the 20th anniversary of the founding of the Grove. It's hard to believe 3 decades have passed since the very first cases of AIDS were reported by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. In San Francisco, when few others were taking notice, a small group of dedicated individuals responded to AIDS before anyone else. And from this effort, the San Francisco model of care and treatment of AIDS was born. 10 years later, at the height of the epidemic, another group of individuals created a place where people seeking healing could gather to express their collective grief through a living memorial. Today, we know this place simply as the Grove. For 20 years now, on every third Saturday, volunteers have come to the Grove to pay tribute, to volunteer, and to heal. That work continues with the reintroduction today of the restored 100-year-old Victorian waterfall. The pain our nation has felt from the AIDS epidemic is why, as president, I signed into law a bill that would forever designate the Grove as this country's official AIDS memorial. It was a way to help ensure that we'd never forget the loved ones we've lost, and that we'd continue to honor their legacy by caring for the sick and committing to solve the crisis. I'm glad that I was able to make, and my administration was able to make, positive efforts to combat the epidemic, and grateful that I've been able to continue this work through my foundation. I'm also very grateful for all of you here. Many of you have led these efforts since the very beginning. Your commitment has been nothing short of heroic, and I thank each and every one of you for your continued work and your continued commitment, not only here at the Grove, but in this long battle we continue to fight against AIDS. We are going to win it, you know, sooner or later. In the meanwhile, every single day, more people are living and living well because of the things you've done. Thank you for that, and God bless you.
It is December 1st every year that reminds me why I have remained a member of the board of directors of this glorious place and this wonderful organization for 12 years. I'm Marcia Ralston, and it's my honor now to move us from the very rightful time of looking back to honor and memorialize those who we have lost and those who continue to suffer, to the portion of our program that looks forward with hope and excitement about the future. And though I will lead us to do that today, it's a particularly hard task for me because Marge and I lost a very precious young person this year in a tragic accident. She was the light of our lives and the closest thing I suspect that we'll ever have to a daughter. And I must tell you that I have spent the last 7 months looking back. But I'm ready to do something different. And I hope you'll move with me today to looking forward. We are honoring 4 wonderful youth scholars in our youth program today. If we are to keep this amazing memorial alive into the future, we must energize the next generation to understand the ways that HIV/AIDS and such a living memorial as this does indeed touch their lives too. This is the 3rd year of our scholarship program, and it continues to grow. It has become truly national, with submissions not only from across California, but from as far away as Hawaii, Indiana, and New York. We're especially proud this year that one of our former winners, who is currently attending NYU, was acted as one of our judges on our panel of decision makers. The program is intended to benefit the scholars, and it's also intended to remind we, the current custodians of this irreplaceable memorial, that we must communicate to our young people the ideals and responsibilities that they must take up when we are no longer able. HIV/AIDS rages on, and there is as relevant a need today to stop its tragic spread as there ever was. This year, we are awarding 3 individual $1,000 scholarships and 1 2-year $2,000 scholarship. We're pleased to be able to offer this new extended award scholarship to acknowledge the need to provide ongoing support to a student so that they can not only start their education, but finish their degree. We also want to acknowledge the families of our winners today and how important they are to each of these wonderful young people. And particularly, we have one of our winners whose family brought her all the way up from Long Beach, California. So thank you so much for that. And now I'd like to introduce our youth representative on the 2011 World AIDS Day Committee.
Thank you, Marcia. Hi, my name is Lisa Windesheim-Ziggis. I attend Mission High School. I'm a sophomore. I am the youth representative for the AIDS Memorial Grove. I'm very honored to be here. I'll be reading a portion of our first scholarship winner's essay. Hi, I'm a junior at Frankfurt High School in Frankfurt, Indiana. My goal is to go to Indiana University of Bloomington and enter medicine. I want to help patients who don't have medical insurance. I'd like to thank the National AIDS Memorial Grove for helping me to make that possible. In my essay, I wrote about how HIV/AIDS resonates with me because a prevalent problem is in my community is that teenage girls get pregnant and are at risk of HIV/AIDS since they do not use protection. Also, teenagers in my community are not aware of the dangers of not knowing about their HIV status. Many people can be saved and supported if they know their status. I hope more support groups become available in my area because there are many who need education and support. I'm currently working with my school to organize a health fair to inform people about HIV. I would also like there to be HIV testing available so teenagers can know their status. Thank you. And now I'm very proud to introduce Neri Martinez, our second winner from Mission High School in San Francisco.
Hi, I'm a senior from Mission High School here in San Francisco. In my essay, I expressed that last summer I took health class to have all of my credits in order to graduate from Mission High School. In this class, we'll learn about STDs and HIV/AIDS. I was stunned when they educated me about how HIV/AIDS could be prevented by just using a condom, since no one had ever taught me about it. All schools should have a required class in regards to STDs and especially HIV/AIDS. Consequently, I find it illogical that my high school does not have a required health class that provides this information. I want to thank the National AIDS Memorial Grove for helping me become the first in my family to attend a university and providing me with greater awareness about how I'm affected by HIV and AIDS. This scholarship will help me pay tuition because I'm not eligible for financial aid as an immigrant from Guatemala. Thank you.
And I'd now like to introduce Nancy Rodriguez, our third winner from Long Beach, California.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Hi, I am a senior at David Starr Jordan High School in Long Beach, California. In my essay I wrote, I connect with the National AIDS Memorial Grove because my mother's friend, present here, she was contract with HIV. When Maribel found out she was HIV positive, she was shocked. She never expected to have HIV because she was married and didn't think she was at risk. It is inspiring how Maribel is using her experience through. She educates women in Mexico about HIV and AIDS and how to prevent the transmission of the virus. The way Maribel helps others is similar to the National AIDS Memorial Grove by providing support to people with HIV and AIDS. I've seen that people with HIV sometimes feel rejected, lonely, and hopeless. Like the National AIDS Memorial Grove, Maribel nurtures people touched by AIDS through love and hope. I would like to thank the National AIDS Memorial Grove for helping me be the first of my family to attend a university. I aim to become a lawyer in human rights. Because my parents and I are immigrants, I do not qualify for federal aid and honor, and nor can my parents afford tuition. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Thank you.
And before I introduce our fourth winner, I want to acknowledge that 3 of our winners this year will be the first in their family to attend university. And our final winner of our new 2-year scholarship award is Stephanie Zelaya from San Francisco.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I currently attend Lowell High School here in San Francisco as a senior. In my essay, I wrote that before taking health class at school, I would not have been able to describe what HIV and AIDS are. I would not have had the slightest clue that HIV and AIDS could be transferred through sharing needles. This shows that people can be really clueless about how HIV and AIDS are contracted and transmitted without proper information. I remember reading And the Band Played On by Randy Schultz for school. The story focuses on communities that were hit hardest by HIV and AIDS. Organizations began begging the government to fund research and to provide social services for those dying of AIDS. This book made me realize how serious HIV and AIDS are and relate to those struggling with HIV and AIDS. Health classes at my school made me aware of the potential dangers and the means of preventing transmission. I would like to thank the National AIDS Memorial Grove for helping me achieve my dream of attending college. Since I'm also an immigrant from El Salvador, I do not qualify for federal or state aid. This scholarship will also assist me to be the first one in my family to attend college. Thank you for making this program possible.
So here's the one you're going to have. So leave that one. Step up here.
Now hold
Yeah,
Tanya's.
you hold Tanya's.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That is our future. Thank you. My name is Tom Jensen, and I'm the co-chair of the National AIDS Memorial Grove Board of Directors. And I'm here to introduce Bishop Dr. Reverend Yvette Flunder. But before we go there, I'm here to also invite you to join us after this event for warm soup. Following Bishop Flunder is, I'm inviting you to the Circle of Friends for the annual reading of the names that were engraved in 2011. After the reading of the names, we will make our way east to the Circle of Peace for the dedication of the newest and perhaps the oldest feature in the Grove, the Falls. Martin, if you and John can talk with tears in your voice, I hope I can too. I'd like to take a moment while you're all gathered here to acknowledge and thank Lisa Cohn and Leroy Gillette for their tenacity and deep engagement over the past year in love and dedication to their late soulmate and partner, Francis McCormick. Thank you. I want to take a personal moment to thank our volunteers, the board of directors, my team, for your deep dedication and generosity. To John Cunningham and Steve Sagasser for your tireless and constant efforts. To Ray Goodenough for his daily tending of this garden and for your friendship. I'd also like to thank my predecessor, Marcia Ralston, for teaching me, encouraging me, and for believing in me. And finally, I'd like to thank my outgoing chair, Gina Gatta. I don't know where you are. For 13 years of service to the Grove, and for being my friend, supporter, guide, and mentor. I will miss you. Thank you all for being here, and thank you to our honorees. The legacy of San Francisco and all those who have contributed to creating and maintaining this city's model response to the epidemic is one that inspires and endures. While today is a time of remembrance, reflection, and appreciation of those who have died, those who are surviving, and those who are continuing in the fight against AIDS, I'd like us to consider the future. This garden will seem quiet for the next few months as it pulls in and rests. But it is only pulling its energy inside, preparing for next year's growth. I encourage each of us to do the same in the coming weeks, to spend time within ourselves, to spend time with our loved ones, to spend time here. Gather that energy inward, knowing that we are ready to rededicate and recommit ourselves to action, to life. Thank you also to the co-chairs of World AIDS Day, Marcy Frazier and Mikey Shriver. A couple more announcements, and then tonight at 6 p.m. on KQED The World, the documentary The Grove will be showing, 56 minutes long. It will be showing throughout the month of December, and it is showing in a nationwide market. Also, if you haven't already been there, in this corner is the Memory Pavilion. I encourage you to drop in, see the faces of old friends, old lovers. And finally, at 6:30 tonight is a vigil at Harvey Milk Plaza, and I encourage you all on the 30th anniversary of AIDS to head to the Castro and be there with me. Thank you all very much for being here. And with that, please help me welcome Bishop Yvette Flunder.
Good afternoon. I want the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence to know that I have been, for 30 years, a bishop of perpetual frustration. It's important that we bring an end to this virus. And because the real enemy for so many years has been shame and guilt and religion. And I want to say that as a practitioner of the faith, that we have been dangerous in this virus. And we are very conscientiously clear that we are called to healing ourselves and healing our community. And I want to say to the sisters and brothers in San Francisco General, because I have brought many of my parishioners, friends, and children into your womb for care. And you have been incredible. God bless you and thank you. And you much deserve this award today. God bless you. And so, as I was sitting on my seat and allowing Spirit to really speak to my heart, I thought it would be important to let you know that I'm going to take some liberties with the lyrics to a song that will be very familiar to you. But because I believe today we are dedicating a fountain of living water, I think it's important that we sing and speak with the eye toward this place that has been established not only to remember those who have passed, but to remember that there's a very narrow gulf between life and death. They are here with us in this place today. Here's a place for us. Right here, there's a place for us. With peace and quiet and open air, waiting for us right here. Here's a time for us. Right now, there's a time for us, this time together, with time to share, time to learn, time to care. Somehow, some way, we found a new way of living. We found a way of forgiving right here. There's a place for us. God made a place for us. So hold my hand and I'll take you there. Hold my hand and we're halfway there. Right here, right now, this place. God bless you.